Hey everyone, this is Walter Medina bringing you encouragement from Gardner-Webb University for the Luminous podcast. May God's grace and peace be with you. I'm a servant of Jesus Christ, bring light to the world one day at a time through personal interactions and various platforms so that people may come to know God and allow Him to change them from the inside out. Let's start this podcast off with prayer. Lord, I thank you for today. I thank you for allowing me to come here and continue to minister to people around the world. Lord, I pray that this podcast be glorifying to you and that you be able to be heard, whether people need to hear testimonies, whether people need to hear the encouragement, whatever it is, that you may be glorified through it all. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Today I'm joined by Daphney. She's a senior marketing major here at Gardner-Webb University. She plays soccer, and we've seen each other around campus, but have become friends this semester. She's been a big blessing to me as a friend, and we've got to know each other some more and just continue to share faith. And I'm excited to talk to her today about faith and athletics. Hey Daphney, glad to have you here. Can you share a little testimony for us and allow us to know who you are?
Yeah, of course. So definitely my testimony has been shaped around how God has played a big part in my soccer career, whether it be from when I was younger up till right now that I'm in college. It's been a big part in the sense of it has given me not just an identity of who I am and who it's allowed me to be, but also it's given me trials, tribulations, obstacles, struggles, whether it be with relationships with people or just the sport in general, especially with facing injuries. And I think that's something that athletes overall don't emphasize a lot nor bring awareness a lot when your mental health comes into play and your sport is kind of ripped away from you when it comes due to a big injury. For me, it was in high school, definitely. I thought I had everything kind of planned out of where I was going to go to college, where I was going to commit, where everything was lined up in the sense that I knew I had control of what all came next. And that was not the case, unfortunately. I had a big Lisfranc injury and a big fracture to the ankle, so I had to get reconstruction of my entire right side of my foot, which was, of course, my playing foot. And this caused a big uproar in the sense that I went into emergency surgery just a few days after that. It was very painful to know that at this point in life, everything that I had been leading up to and thinking, this was going to be my life, this is going to be what it's next. Doctors were then turning around and saying, you might never be able to walk again normal, so let alone play your sport, it was never going to be in the picture. I took that very literal, and I know the people that love me and around me took that very literal, and that caused a lot of distraction and mental health, in the sense that it just distraught me more than anything. After the first surgery they told me all of that, and I didn't think to believe more so that there could be a chance. I went to a second surgery later on in that year, closer to September, and that was just a test, kind of everything that we reconstructed in the foot would now have to be taken out in the sense of screws and nails, just because they wanted to give me a chance to at least try and have my ligaments restored on their own, and if that happened, then I could potentially be able to walk normal. I fought all of that year, and it was really hard to have in the back of your mind everybody doubt and say, you're never going to do this, you're never going to be able to come back from this. And at the end of that year, I thankfully, December 27th, I want to say, or 17th, I'm not too sure, but I was able to actually commit to Gardner-Webb, thanks to one of the coaches here taking a chance on me, after I explained to him all of my story and everything that was going on, because even after the second surgery, I pushed and pushed and pushed very hard, whether it be by myself. I would run and do all these things that when people said I'd never be able to do, first off because of the pain, but I would do it even with or without the pain, and it was the hardest thing, I will say. But I think at the end of the day, I had a big belief in, I like to say to prove people wrong just because I'm a little stubborn. But really, I had a big belief in that God had something planned for me, that he wouldn't have let me like play this entire sport and have to go through so many things with my family, with this sport, with the coaches in general. But I had to have that kind of hope in that. And now to this day, I can say that thanks to the little belief that the few people that loved me and cared for me at that time and were willing to kind of be there for me, I can say now 3 years later that I am able to walk perfectly fine. I am able to play my sport with its struggles here and there, of course. But it shaped who I was becoming and who I am to this day, and it still is shaping me, because I don't think many can say that one can walk on a broken foot. And it's very hard to, once a person kind of knows that, especially on a like psychological point of view, the pain increases. So when I kind of told myself, oh no, it's nothing that bad, and I would get myself to get up and walk, even though I knew there was pain behind it, I really learned like the mental toughness that it came with that one ultimately can't really, like, one can do anything they put their mind to, but it's once like we're like, oh, down with a factual, down with something that like, oh, like this is exactly what it is, whether it be like for me a broken foot, I think it was then that I realized, oh, like, or I let that fear kind of overtake and be like, yeah, this is what it is, I can't do anything about it. And over the last 3 years, like, I've learned that, like, as much as I want to let fear overtake my life and I want to stay in a comfort zone or not take as many risks as I should have, at least when I was younger, because I kind of wanted to be this perfect person that had my life planned out, that controlled and knew everything around me, and was willing to not really step outside of my comfort zone. I can say today that it takes a lot of belief and courage and bravery to be okay with not knowing what's next, to be okay with believing that Christ really has you in his hands, and that your life, as much as you want to say like the sky is red, it will always be blue.
Yeah.
God is the one that created that. Like, you can't change something like that.
Yeah.
But you can definitely like give advice and tell yourself, like, whether you pick yourself up or you let yourself kind of fall. I think it comes down to how hard you definitely like believe in yourself, believe in the people around you, you care for them and you love for them. But at the end of the day, like, it's not even like being selfish to just think about yourself or anything, but rather having that balance of like loving yourself so much and knowing that you're that God made you the way you are and in his image for a reason.
Yeah.
I think that for me was like something that like I struggle to this day to understand, because of course nobody's perfect, but it definitely is something that like I need more of in my life at certain times, or I need to remind others like, hey, like, the path you're walking and is not done. It's not done until maybe even until you take your last breath. But even then, whatever you left behind in this world, like, there's so much more that like people will take from your life and from your testimony.
Yeah.
And I came into this like thinking like, oh my goodness, like, how am I going to explain like that I feel like I'm still living that testimony from my broken foot that was 3 years ago. Because I still don't know what's next. I don't know, like, as much as God has given me the chance to walk, the chance to play again, I don't know why that injury had to happen, or why I'm still having to turn around and be like, believe in what's next, believe in everything being okay. And I think that is where I'm struggling right now, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm trying to trust the Lord and his words and what he has next for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. just seeing like you've come from playing, having the injury, and kind of it being a setback. Many people not believing in your potential of coming back to soccer, but then the select few who were there to continue to help you with that, and you turning around now to be at Gardner-Webb for 3 years, and just like pushing to like realize that sometimes you don't realize all this kind of going into that. God doesn't always show us all the cards of how life's going to be. I think that's the importance of like faith, in that like we have to trust Him even when we don't see. I mean, we see that all through the Bible, and I mean, Moses having to believe like he's given the promise of, hey, we're going to the promised land, but like this bro is like before going to Egypt, and he has all these doubts, but even realizing like no, like you gotta trust in God. You gotta trust in God and trust His plan and all that stuff. But kind of with kind of coming to college, what do you think really pushed you to kind of not fully give in to the belief that you weren't coming back to soccer? Like, what kind of got you kind of like, no, I'm not gonna not play again? Like, yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like, I'm someone that's like very stubborn. I will say that. I'm very much a competitor, very stubborn, and it's my downfall at times, I will say, but when doctors were telling me that, like, I would never walk and never walk, never play this sport, and I had to come into a perspective of, like, I've given so much for this sport, and not because, oh, like, this is what I deserve, or this is what I need, or anything back, but it's, like, I have loved this sport from the moment, like, a soccer ball was at my hand, and I will always remember, like, even, like, my dad was my biggest hater, like, when I was younger, and to this day, that man is a coach now. He is coaching soccer for all sorts of little kids and everything, and he loves it. And I knew from the get-go that, like, the injury was not going to be easy. I knew it was going to be hard. I didn't know, though, like, if I could make it to the next side, to the next phase or whatnot, but I for sure in that moment knew that as much as everybody around me was saying, no, this is not going to happen, like, you're not going to be able to go to college and play this sport that you love, you're not going to be able to do this, I had this really big fire in me, like, just saying, like, I needed to prove these people wrong. And I've always, like, in all of, like, my entire life, I've always been the underdog. And so I took that to heart, and I just remember all of that year, like, I was always in church, and I was always, like, with a group of ministry that we had back at school, and I was just always, like, curious and to know more about God, but I also wanted to know, especially the book of Job, just because, like, the devil took so much away from him.
Yeah, he did.
And it was interesting, like, that story has always been interesting to me in the sense of, like, as much as he, like, that was taken from his life, he never faltered in his faith. And nope. I wish I could say, like, I didn't falter throughout that year, and I haven't this year, or, like, this, since I've grown up, but I'm not perfect, of course, like I said. But that to me was, like, my biggest, like, kind of, like, story and testimony in the sense of, like, this is an example. How much faith and trust, especially, do I have in God, in Jesus Christ, in everything that He's given me to come this far? And I was like, I remember that year telling myself, there's no chance that God gave me all of this just to end right here on a random Thursday or Friday night. And I was like, no, this can't be it. And I kept pushing because my faith at that moment was stronger than my materialistic actions or things that I had around me. And I wish I could be like, oh, like I could describe and be like, yeah, it was this and this and this. But I just remember like I was praying constantly, not even just to heal my foot, but rather to enlighten me and to give me wisdom as to why I was having to sit on the bench, having to sit in bed, not being able to walk, not being able to do so many things that I loved, and just watch. Though for the first time, I will say I got the chance to watch the game that I loved, and I got the chance to make more friendships and more relationships with those people that like were kind of when I was on the field on the sideline. I realized the importance of their role more than anything, and the importance that, or more so like the bravery and the courage that it takes one to be able to sit down and just kind of watch when all you want to do is sit there, or all you want to do is play more than anything. I think that was one of the biggest things that like it wasn't even a matter of like I want to play for myself, but I wanted to play for everyone else around me. I wanted to make a difference and show to others that like, hey, I can do this, and just like I can do this, you can too.
Yeah, I think I can see like Job's story and your story too, and like how you got set back and you had all these things taken away from you. And even with Job's friends, like all his friends like doubting him, and like I'm doing a passage for one of my papers right now, and Paul kind of relates himself to Job, and kind of with Job's stories that he knows he's a righteous man, and he knows he stands right before God, and yet he's having all these things taken away, and his friends are like, hey, like man, like repent, do something. You have to there's something's wrong.
Yeah.
You have to do something wrong to be able to be in this point. But Job's like, no, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust God. And maybe Job did have some repenting to do. Maybe not. But through it, Job stayed fast to God and just stayed there. And like, even with you, is like you kind of realizing, like, with the people that are kind of pushing you away, and like, hey, honestly, soccer probably not the best thing. Try something else. Or like just say all those other things, but then realizing what you were able to see through the pain, through the hurt, and all that stuff. Reminds me of in Philippians where Paul's talking about like, I mean, I've been in the riches, and I've been in the poor, all this stuff, and through it he realizes like, no, Christ is the center. Like this isn't the abundance that I need. This is all that I have. And I guarantee it took Paul a lot of time to get to that point. In the middle of writing Philippians, he's in prison, waiting to be brought before the court to see if he's going to be set to death or being released. I mean, you were probably trying to figure out like, okay, am I going to be back on the field, or will I really have to give up on this? And I can only imagine. And like, I haven't played soccer. But like even when I was playing basketball in middle school, and like it was hard for me, what was it, 7th or 8th grade year, and like my coach was like, Walter, like I'll let you on the varsity team, but like you have certain strengths and all this stuff. So like I got to the point of like I was on the bench pretty much all 8th grade and all that stuff. And I mean, for me, I didn't even get that like perspective of like, hey, like these players who are who are sitting down and may not have all those opportunities to play, they still play a big role. At that point, I was pretty salty. I'm like, hey, like I've been playing basketball all my life. I've been, playing basketball for Coach Ruffin, and now that it's the 8th grade year, I'm still on the JV team. But then like, now I'm like, no, like he saw what I had. I mean, I had great defense, but I did not have the offense to be on varsity and all that stuff. But just realizing, like, even with your stories, like sometimes we need to look back and like maybe not always asking for the healing that we need, but like what is this time for? What has this brought me to, and like where is God molding us in? That's huge. Like perspective to go to God, one, then also not always just asking for the healing, but asking for what does this season mean? What is coming out of this? Like what does that mean? That's honestly like it's encouraging to me, because like when we have all these circumstances in our lives, it's very easy to complain or kind of go into a pity party and like, woe is me and all that stuff. But then realizing, no, like, no, even regardless of the cause of this, like, I mean, Romans 8:28 says, like, all things work together for our good. So if we trust in him, we can continue to see that even in the midst of trials, or for Paul in prison, for you having your broken foot, for me having a ride bench on varsity, like, there is purpose behind it. There is greater that this means for us in that. So, yeah. I was also wondering, like, when you had those moments, like, on the bench kind of talking with them, it's like, what was that process like? How did you kind of come to the realization of their importance, and how did that kind of process for you?
I wish I could say that I came to that realization, like, at that moment. But like you, I was also very salty. I was mad at God, and I was very much grieving that sense of, like, I should be out there. I should be the one doing this. I should be changing this. And I just didn't understand why I'd be sitting down, why I had to sit down. And it's funny because, like, my dad has always emphasized, like, growing up, that, like, a lot of God's plans, like, you can't see it going forward. You can see it, though, if you turn around. You can see a lot of his steps, how they worked, whether it be in you or somebody else, when you turn around and you look at all of those that are behind you. So for me, it was in a sense of, like, during, especially my high school season, because it was my high school seasons that hit the most, just because it was a bunch of girls that I would see on a daily, and then I'd see straight after for the next 2 or 3 hours. It wasn't until the end of the season that I came to that realization of, like, I saw so many girls, like, on the bench, like, cheering for everyone and being super hyper and being super funny. But I also saw so many girls that, like, were in their fields, that felt they needed to play, that felt that they deserved to play, or that would go to coach and complain, like, why am I not getting this? Why am I not getting that? And they would turn around and they'd come to me and they'd be like, hey, can you talk to coach about this? Can you talk to coach about that? And I for the first time could see not even just the fear, but the realization that they're human too, that they have feelings, that it takes so much courage and strength to stand for a 90-minute game and feel like you deserve to play and have the ability, whether it's to walk or not, and still have to be held down to the consequences of what a coach wants or what a coach needs at the moment on the field. And I think, like you, where everybody can kind of feel that saltiness of, like, hey, like, I've done all of this work, I've like made it all the way up here, I've been with this coach for this time, and I'm not getting that playing time, or I'm not seeing the field as I should. I think it was then that, like, I had to sit down right before we lost. I'm sorry. My junior year, we won state finals. Mm-hmm. And I was in crutches at this point, but I hadn't had my second surgery. And I was sitting with one of the girls, and she was crying. And I was like, why are you crying? Like, she was only a freshman. And she was crying, and she was like, I've never experienced anything more than just a regular soccer game. I was like, and for the first time, I'm here in front of, I don't know how many people, it was a big stadium. She's like, I'm here in front of so many people, and I feel like I just won a trophy. And I was like, I turned around and I was like, yeah, we just did. Like, the field, like, the players on the field just did. This girl had rode the bench all year, all semester. Mm-hmm. She was a freshman. And she was like, no, like, she's like, I felt like if I was the one out there, because even if I wasn't the one, she was like, even if I wasn't the one out on the field, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're good.
Even if I wasn't the one on the field, I was the one training with those girls that are on the field, making them better.
Oh, absolutely.
I was the one challenging them.
Mm-hmm.
I was the one that had to spend every day with these people. And she talked to me and was like, I'm so grateful and thankful that I get to say I know this person, that I get to say I trained with this person. And I looked at her and I was like, wow, that's such a perspective change. Like, I would not have thought of that. Mm-hmm. And she turns around to me and she's like, and I get to say that I had the best semester sitting this bench talking with you all the time.
Wow.
And I was like in distraught. Like, I was like, I'm over here like crying and like being in my feels and being salty, and you're just a freshman and you're so thankful that you saw me when you were in 8th grade, because we had a middle school and high school combined.
Yeah. You
saw me when you were in 8th grade. You had seen me play, and I was like this big superstar to you, and all you wanted to do was really just talk to me. And thanks to this injury, I got to sit down and talk to you every single game. And I didn't know that this meant so much to you, mm-hmm. but apparently it did. And I was just like, I was so happy, and I'm someone that cries a lot. I just started crying because mm-hmm. I was like, wow, like I felt guilty also, because I was like, I just went throughout this whole semester like feeling like I just don't mean anything to this team because I'm sitting in a boot and a crutch. But to one girl, one small freshman, I meant the world. And after that, I started to see people, like random people, whether it be from my club team or from coaches, from people I love or cared, or just even random people, like random kids that I had. So I was a coach over the summers, mm-hmm. And random kids would like see me and they'd come up and be like just so thankful, and they would say something similar. And I think that was so touching, but I didn't realize in that moment how much it would shape me, because as I came to Gardner-Webb and I redshirted my first year, and then I tried to play the last 2 years, I realized I became that sideline player mm-hmm. that would look up to those seniors, those juniors that got full 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. I realized I became that kid that loved me when I was in high school. And it took a lot, and still to this day, it takes a lot for me to stand on the sideline and just have to watch my team. But I'm grateful and so thankful to say, as much as I'm not getting the minutes I want or I think I should deserve or anything, I'm getting to train and play with these players that are getting full 90s. Mm-hmm. And that to me, like, that's shaped entirely my college career. That's shaped entirely, like, from my injury to now, that I went all before my injury playing full 90.
Yep. And
never really acknowledging nor having those people that like do sit the bench or are on the sidelines really acknowledging them and being thankful for them until the last 3 or 4 years that I have had to be on the other side. So I've gotten to see both perspectives. I've gotten to see how much of a struggle it really is to really stand there and be happy for everyone, because I love people. I will for sure say that. I love people, and I love when it's someone's success or someone is having some sort of like accomplishment.
Yep, I can testify, y'all.
But it's really hard to want to believe and say and keep trusting when you don't see that for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, like I was saying earlier, I'm still walking that faith and walking that testimony, because it's a little, and it does sound a little bit selfish for me to say, but I do kind of want to see myself back onto that field. I do want to see like what's next. I want to see those full 90, but I do also want to be thankful and grateful to every girl and every kid that has had to sit on the sideline and watch and really rethink, I guess, your life choices, because you're like, what's next? Is this where I'm standing, or is this what I'm gonna make to have me be the underdog? And I think that's where, like, especially I think like the year I got hurt, I carry to this day, and even before that, like the verse Philippians 4:13. Through God, I'm so sorry, I'm blinking right now.
Hold up. I should know this one too. I was just reading Philippians.
I can do all
things through Christ who strengthens me.
all things through Christ who strengthens me. Yes, I'm so sorry. No, but I have that verse like everywhere, like whether it be from my notebook, whether it be from whether it be from my like soccer career, like, or it be from just even on my Instagram page, like I write that everywhere. And I always, every time I would see the field, I always had tape on having a little cross and having that verse always written down, just because to me that was the biggest thing. I had to realize that I can't have control of anything and everything that I want, and I can't do anything without the strength that God gives me, and only through Him will it ever happen.
Oh, absolutely. I think just with your story kind of like very much relates to when Paul writes that, because that's, as I said earlier, that's when he's talking about like him being in the highs and the lows, him being with the plenty, with the little, but through it all he realizes like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, not because of me, but because of who Christ is. Just want to ask, like, for your story, you've kind of talked about like just different characters and people that have played different roles between during your injury, the people that actually kind of believed in you, and then kind of like recently is like you're talking about like that one girl like kind of saw like her role and like conversations she had with you. So I guess there might be different people, but like who are some people that have played a pivotal role in your soccer career and like help you develop into who you are? And this could be as an athlete, but also I do want the side of like just as faith as well. Like how has the career and pivotal people in your life kind of helped you just in who you are?
Okay. I think definitely my biggest supporter has always been my mother. My mother is a full, like, I don't even know, like, she is a lion. Like, in anything and everything, she has completely, like, she's always had that belief of, like, you're gonna do it, not because you say, but because God has you. And her and my dad were ministers of a Catholic church for the youth. And I just remember, like, going to like Sunday classes, and like they would be my teachers or whatnot, and I remember listening about God. I remember listening about like his Jesus Christ and his love for everyone, and that to me was always like, oh, okay, like I love this, like I absolutely love this. But my mom and my dad are definitely like the people who I go to even now about faith. Before I came into here, I was like, I need someone to speak to because I was really nervous. But I went to my dad and I was like, hey Dad, like I need some reassurance. I don't know if what I'm gonna say is gonna be right. I don't know if it's gonna be wrong. Like I was like, and he was able to in like just 5 or 6 minutes calm me down and just explain to me like how much God has given me and how much He can take away at the end of the day, but how much are we grateful, and how much grace can we give ourselves for everything and anything. I can say that through soccer, my dad was my coach as well. And he, in the smallest ways, like he always incorporated Christ in some sort of way, whether it be like through the love he showed for the sport, or whether it be just outright like asking me if I wanted to pray before a game. And I kind of like would always like be like, yeah, why not? And then that kind of transpired into my friends on the team. And my friends at this moment then started asking, hey, can we pray before a game? Not even pray to win, which some days I know some of the girls did want to do that, but a matter of pray for safety, pray for the game that we love so much to be played in God's name. And I realized that, like, everything in this world can tell me and say so many things. But when I'm on that field with the soccer ball, it was all I could feel and hear was God's voice. I will never forget, like, my 8th grade year especially. Like, I always, a lot of people could say, oh, it's like your intuition, it's your mind playing tricks or something. But I, like, wholeheartedly in my 8th grade year, like, felt like whether I made this pass or I made this play or I did this, I could hear God's voice in the sense, play it here, it's gonna work out. Play it there, it's gonna come out. And I was very not distraught, but I was very in awe of that. Because my mom and my dad, like, my mom is such a big faith believer. In the Catholic Church, for us, it's very well known that, like, when you have some sort of, like, I guess, not even, when you have something to pray for very heavily, like, you take it to God, right? But we also have different, I guess, saints. Yeah, we do have saints. I'm sorry. We have saints, and we have Mother Mary, who we go to intercede and to bring us kind of like a community to pray towards God. And she is always doing the rosary, and that, to me, like, I found that in big awe, because, like, it's very hard for me to do the rosary just because I can't ever meditate like that, but she can. And it's amazing to see that from her. It's amazing to see how much faith my dad has in Christ and how much faith my mom has in Christ. So for sure, we'll say that, like, even though my dad might have been the first to doubt me ever playing the sport, or first to doubt when the doctor said I needed emergency surgery, my mom have been my best friends aside from Christ, and have been the ones to lead me to Christ, and help me grow my faith. And it's vice versa, because some days for them it's really hard to trust and believe and know that, like, whatever is next is going to be all right. But then I'll randomly whip out and be like, no, God's got us. God knows where he's taking us. And they'll just laugh and be like, yeah, for sure. And I'll turn around and I'm like, you don't know, you don't have any faith right now. And they're like, not at all, not in this. And I'm like, but it's gonna work out. And I think those were they are the two people that I go to about any questions I have that I might need explaining about my faith. But also they are my foundation on why I love God so much.
Let's go. It's so, like, encouraging to see, like, people that have been in your life and continue to push you, and you, like, even being encouragement to them, because so many times it can be easy, like, for people to, like, leave or all stuff and, like, kind of be there for 1 second but then leave and, like, I don't know. But realizing the importance of people that have been there. I know for me, like, when I was doing basketball, and even the basketball coach was one of the track coaches, so he kind of convinced me to get in. Like even though he was one like, Walter, no, I don't want to put you on the varsity team, but, like, he was always the one that was encouraging me. Like, even during track, he was like, Walter, join the team, one. And then he got me to do shot put, discus, and then running. I'm like, Coach, I don't have any shoes. Like, okay, don't worry about that, I'll get you some shoes, join. I was like, but realizing, like, there's those people that kind of stick out and do all stuff, and, like, even it's random. Sometimes I'll see, like, a picture of me and Coach Ruffin, or just, like, see one of his posts, something like that, and I'm like, sometimes you don't realize how pivotal people are until later on. And I think I've definitely realized, like, for me, through Coach Ruffin, was, like, realizing the truth of who I am and where I am at, realizing the potential of what I have to be, and, like, having that person that'll encourage me on there, but also, like this person is here for me, and, like, all that stuff. So, kind of as we end this out, if you were to leave the listeners with, like, one line or, like, one thing you want them to know, what would that be?
That you're never in control of of your life. You might be the one walking it, but you're not the one that wrote it. And I say that in a sense, yes, there's free will. Yes, there's, you can do, as nowadays people say, whatever you want. But you're on this earth because God wanted you to be. You're living today and you're breathing today because He let you have that breath. Mm-hmm. He let you wake up. So it's scary not to have control or to want to have control of whatever may be next. But it's okay to just trust and let it go. Because you may plan your life out completely and God tells you, nope, that's not the way at all.
Yeah. Yeah, He can do that. He can do that. He can do that. Thank you. It was very insightful for me, just listening to you and kind of what you shared through your story, and just like how soccer's played a big role in your life, and like even I know you're figuring out like what's going on later on. You get a little trip coming up, and just trying to figure out like what does life look like. But I'm encouraged by your story. Like there's so much ahead of you. There's so much that God has for you, and even just over the past few months of like just knowing each other, it's been short, but it's also been very fruitful. It's like seeing how God's worked in your life, just hearing your story personally, and how He continues to use you, transform you, but then also realizing that like He's written your story, and you're kind of just walking through it. You're walking through it, and I mean, my leader keeps saying, like, you haven't seen nothing yet. It's like, we see but so much right now, but as we continue to walk and as we continue to see, guys, like, there's so much ahead of us. There's so much promises that He gives to us of blessing. So much that He has ahead of us. And, like, it's just encouraging to see your life and how, I mean, even just for a few months, just the way that God uses you. Thank you so much, Daphney, for being here with us, just sharing your story and how you've seen God through your testimony.
Thank you, Walter, for having me. I appreciated coming on and just getting to talk more so about it all.
Well, y'all, listening in, y'all can continue to see who Daphney is, see her story a little bit. You can follow her on Instagram. What's your Instagram, Daphney?
My username is Daphney.Reyes7. My messages are always open to anyone, so please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, everyone, today for listening in. Don't forget that you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill could not be hidden. Keep living life for Jesus and allowing Him to transform you into the man or woman of God that He has called you to be. Be blessed and keep doing great things for the kingdom of God. A Luminous City, out.